In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how you can make your first £1,000 self-publishing on Amazon KDP. Now, when a lot of people here make their first £1,000 doing any sort of online business, they kind of see it as quite a daunting task, but actually when you break it down with Amazon KDP, it's actually very much achievable. I actually average around £2.70 per book, but let's just say you make a book for £6 and it sells for £6.99, you're going to get £2.49 royalties for that book. All you need to sell to make £1,000 with KDP, you only need to sell just over 400 books to make that £1,000. So when you break it down like that, it automatically becomes a lot more tangible and you can actually realize it's a very realistic target to hit when you're just starting out from zero. Now, if I was just starting out on Amazon KDP and I wanted to make my first £1,000, what I would actually do, rather than jumping into kind of low, medium and high content publishing, I would actually start with no content publishing. This is not necessarily to make loads and loads of money, but this is the best way to actually learn how Amazon KDP works. And there's a step I think so many people kind of rush over. They actually want to make a load of money from KDP, but they don't have the time to actually understand how the platform works and how you can be really efficient with your publishing. So no content books are really good for this because not only are they simple to make, they're very easy to understand how you can make them in bulk, and also because you can make them so quickly, you can learn from your mistakes and actually learn what works and what doesn't with Amazon KDP. Whereas with low and medium content publishing, it takes a lot more time to make these books. So it's just not very reasonable to expect yourself to learn how the whole process works and how the platform works with your listing prices, your keywords, your title and subtitle. You just need to immerse yourself initially in KDP before really worrying about the books that are going to make you loads of money. So I would definitely recommend just starting with no content notebooks. Now, ideally, although these aren't going to take you to the stratosphere and the next level, they would hopefully make you some money from the sales that they're making. So they're not going to make you loads and loads of money, but they might make you your first initial sales, which ideally is the goal. So not only are you learning, you're also making some initial sales. Now, it's up to you if you want to just stick with no content books and you enjoy making these, you think it's sustainable with your life, and also you can kind of see some success of it, then please feel free to stick with no content books. But what I would do personally is, once I've understood a bit more about how KDP works, how we can be a bit more successful with it, I would then start investing my time into low and medium content publishing. And the reason why I don't do this straight away is because they take a lot of time to make, and I want to make sure this time I'm spending on making these books is completely efficient and completely correct. Otherwise, you'll spend loads of time making these books and just doing it wrong. So once you start making a couple of sales with your no content books and you actually start learning how KDP works, at that point, I would recommend moving into low and medium content publishing. I would then spend a little bit of time just making as many of these low and medium content books as I possibly can, just to understand a little bit more about what it takes to make these sorts of books. And then once you've done that, I think you will naturally have a couple of books that start to do really well. And at this point, you can focus on those books that are doing well. What makes those books different to the ones that aren't doing well? And then start to double down and just make a lot more of these books that you know are successful. And this is going to start generating that kind of snowball of passive income, because once you start understanding the type of books that sell on Amazon, forget about the other ones that aren't doing very well for you. Start doubling down on those ones that are doing well, and your income will start really snowballing and really start picking up, and you'll really start making and closing in on that first £1,000. So at this point, hopefully you would achieve two things. You have a really good understanding about how KDP works with both no content and low and medium content books, and you'll hopefully have a couple of no and low and medium content books that are performing really well for you, and you're starting to make a lot of sales. It is at this point where I would start really now focusing on learning how to do proper niche research and proper keyword research, because initially I think it's important just to understand how KDP works before really going into the granular niche and keyword research. My KDP Bootcamp Beginners course goes into loads of depth of every single step you need to do to go from zero to your first £1,000. This video is going to be just a very top level summary of what I would do. If you want a lot more of the detail, then my KDP Bootcamp course is available. It's only £29 and is massively beneficial if you really want to take your KDP publishing seriously. And in there, I also cover exactly how I would start doing this niche research kind of learning, and also this keyword research learning too. So once you've kind of made a couple of those successful books, really start learning the really value added parts of KDP, which is your niche research and your keyword research. And it's at this point too where you can decide whether you want to go down the no content path or the low and medium content path. Again, I go in this a lot more detail in the course, but essentially there's kind of two different approaches that you can take with no content publishing versus low and medium content publishing. Because you could make no content books very easily, you can massively just mass produce a lot of these books. So the general strategy I would go for, if I'm making no content books and you decide to go down that route, is just mass produce as many no content books in good performing niches as you possibly can. Kind of go for a lower hit rate. So that basically means per book, you're probably going to sell less units per book, but because you're making so many books and they're so easy to make, you're actually increasing your sales that way. On the flip side, if you decide to go down the road of low and medium content publishing, I would go for a much more granular and strategic approach because it takes a lot more time to make a book, as I've already mentioned. You want to make sure that book has a higher hit rate, i.e. a higher percentage of the books that you make are actually selling, because you just can't create them at the same rate as you can no content books. That's when you really need to start focusing, again, like I say, on niche research and keyword research. But there's two kind of different strategies. At this point, you could decide which one you want to go down, the mass production of no content publishing or the more tailored and specific production of low and medium content publishing. If you want my opinion, I would generally go for low and medium content publishing because there's much higher ceiling of how much money you can make. But depending on what works with your life, no content publishing can also be really good because you can just mass produce and you can also be successful that way. And then finally, once you've decided which route you're going down and you're kind of focusing on double down on those and you hopefully have a lot of books that are performing well for you, then you can then start advertising on these good performing books. I generally say when you're just starting out on KDP, don't advertise on books that aren't already selling well organically. You're just going to waste a lot of money, but hopefully by this point you will have some books that have sold well for you organically, and then you can start advertising those because basically you know they convert to sales, you know people are after them, you know people can find them, but if you can put them in front of as many people as possible, which is essentially what you're doing with ads, that's how you can really scale and make that leap from kind of maybe making £400 from KDP up to that £1,000. That's basically how I would do it. Once you've got a lot of these good performing books, start advertising, and that's going to really push you towards that first £1,000. And then generally, I would just rinse and repeat this process. Keep doubling down on those books that you're making. You know they're successful, so why would you change away from them? Start advertising on them, and then just keep making loads of different versions of these books or similar style books. It's really important when you're making your first 400 book sales or your first £1,000 on KDP to look at the books that aren't doing well as much as the ones that are doing well. Look at the ones that aren't doing well. What are they different to the ones that are doing well? And start realizing why this book isn't doing well. And also the ones that are doing well, look at the things they are doing that the ones that aren't doing well are. So what are these books doing well? Focus on that and make sure you're avoiding the things that aren't going well in the books that aren't selling. So that's basically how I would make my first £1,000 on KDP. It's kind of a different kind of style of video, but I hope you got some value from it. It's a very incremental step-by-step process, and I hope one thing you can learn from this is the emphasis on learning during your KDP journey. Just going in and going straight into it is definitely not the way. You're not going to learn. You're going to be very inefficient with your time. Take your time. I always say on this channel, see it as a long-term vision. Take baby steps at a time. Actually learn how the process works, and you'll be amazed how much quicker that actually is over time once you understand how KDP works. So I hope you did enjoy this video, and please do let me know how you get on with this strategy, going from zero to your first £1,000 on KDP. And again, like I say, if you want to have a lot more in-depth behind a lot of the points I've made in this video, then please check out KDP Bootcamp. I will leave a link down in the description. And if you did enjoy this video, then please do subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.